It's time for another 50mm challenge in a foggy forest. It's the beginning of winter, there is fog in the forest, the leaves are down on the ground. I'm going to use my 50mm lens on a full frame body on my Canon EOS R. I'm going to take advantage of the open aperture of this lens, which is a 1.4 lens, but I'm also going to use f8 or f11, so I'm constrained only by the focal range, and that is 50mm. Hey everyone, my name is Tom here on YouTube, and I'm a full-time landscape photographer. So this channel is all about landscape photography. If you're interested, subscribe. Now, you can support me by buying my ebook or one of my editing courses, or you can join me for one of my workshops. All these details are in the description of this video. There's a link to my website. You go there, you see all the details. Just take your pick. Now it's time for this challenge by using the 50mm lens f1.4 in this foggy forest.
I could almost swear my heart gets colder with the air.
One of the most important rules in landscape photography, and it's a rule that I always follow. This is like one of my 10 commandments. So I'm looking around, I'm exploring the place. Even if I'm hiking in that direction, I'm always checking left, right, back, front, up, down. So I'm 360 degrees aware. So over there I have one composition, and I also have one to my left as I'm sitting right now with a really beautiful tree. A tree that looks really spectacular right now when its leaves are down on the ground and you can actually see the branches and see how spectacular it is. Let's start with this first composition. Now, I stopped here, and the big advantage of using the 50mm is that when you notice something with your eye, usually that's the moment when you should stop, because 50mm, it's kind of the equivalent of the human eye, of the focal length of the human eye, without the peripheral vision. So I stopped here, and I have two trees guarding the trail. And the way I'm going to photograph it, I'm going to have the trail, I'm going to have the trees, and I'm going to close the aperture because the trees are visible. The end of the trail, it's not visible, so I just want to have everything in focus in this situation. So I'll probably go f8 or f11 and ISO 100, and the exposure time we'll just see what it is.
My heart gets colder with the air, and it gets hard to say the things that I don't mean.
I also decided to take a panoramic photo of this location. I found out that panoramic framings inside the forest work a lot better than the usual one single photo, and they give you the impression of space of the forest that surrounds you. Now it's time to try and photograph this tree over here. This photo would have worked a lot better with a wide-angle lens, but since this is a 50mm challenge, I'm gonna use my 50mm. So first I'm going to explore and see exactly from where I want to photograph it. Probably there's going to be two shots, one including the base of the tree and a part of the tree, and then I will try to get closer and see what I have.
I can almost see when I'm looking back at me, the point at which I felt my faith break free. As I shook beneath my bones, felt your arms around my throat.
For this situation, I used an open aperture. The reason was because I was standing really close to the branches, and I wanted to have a separation between the tree, the actual trunk of the tree, and the branches that were closer to my lens. So I decided to go with 2.8 to blur some of the elements and have the tree in focus, but also to create a separation and depth to the photo. It's time to move forward and to hike along the trail and see what other opportunities I can find. It's a good day to be out in the forest. It's a good foggy day. The fog is pretty thick, which is a good thing in a situation like this when there are no leaves on the branches of the trees.
You said please, but I don't believe anything.
It's time for another camp position. So again, I saw the trail, but in this case I like the little bit of snow that is down on the ground. It acts like a leading line, like a really powerful leading line, because it's so white, it's so bright. And I'm going to use the trees that are at the edge of the trail. I'll put them at the edge of my photos just to have kind of like a frame inside the frame and guide the attention of the viewer into the distance in the background.
I could almost swear my heart gets colder with the air, and it gets hard to say the things that I don't mean.
For this photo, I decided to change perspective and stay really low. This is an easy way to create diversity in your photos when you're doing photos almost in the same spot. I'm almost in the same spot. I just advanced probably 10 or 15 meters. And because of that, because I see another composition, but people will realize it's the same place, I'm changing the perspective and I'm sitting really low for this one. One of the things I like a lot when I'm photographing with this lens, with the 50mm f1.4, it's the reason it's a prime lens. So if you're closing up the aperture at f8 or f11, the lens is going to be incredibly sharp. And because it also has a really wide aperture, it will give you the opportunity to experiment, to play around with composition, to separate things in a way that a lens with f4 is not able to do. So it's a good practice for a landscape photographer from time to time to use a prime. It's not that practical because if you're changing your lens a lot of dust is going to get onto your sensor. But if you're just using one lens, then it's a good practice and a good challenge to improve your photos.
I can almost see when I'm looking back at me, the point at which I felt my faith break free. As I shook beneath my bone.
I like this tree over here, and this is something that I'm always on the lookout when I'm in the forest. Interesting trees that look different. Well, this tree looks a little bit different, so I'm trying to find a position from where to photograph it. I like its shape. I like the fact that it still has these dark brownish reddish leaves on it, and I will try to photograph it probably with an open aperture because I want to separate it from the rest of the forest. The trick is to include the trail in this composition, but the photo should be about the tree, not the trail. So this would be the challenge in this situation. The settings for this photo are ISO 100 f3.5 and 120th of a second. I think the the 3.5 aperture helped me separate the tree from the rest of the forest, and more importantly separate it from the trail, but also helped me to have the entire tree in focus. As I was walking on the trail, I just noticed the tree trunks in the fog. They almost look like ghosts. You can only see silhouettes, and this is a very mysterious image.
As I shook beneath my bones, I felt your arms around my throat. You said please, but I don't believe anything.
I guess this is it for this 50mm f1.4 challenge in a foggy forest. I hope you find the information useful. Share this video with your friends. Don't forget that you can support me by buying my editing course or my ebook on landscape photography, or join me for one of my workshops. The link for all this is in the description of this video. Until next time, keep on photographing, because it's the only way to get better. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.